Thank you, Aisha. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the OVW Emerging Issues and Training and Technical Assistance Call for Concept Papers Pre-Application Call. My name is Neelam Patel. I'm the team lead at OVW for Training and Technical Assistance, and my co-presenter today is Nadine Neuville, Deputy Director for Grants Development and Management. Also available on the call today are representatives from other OVW grant programs to answer questions about specific purpose areas. We'd like to thank you all for being here today. We would like to go over the agenda really quickly for you for the call today. We want to leave enough time for any questions. So our overview of the call for concept papers is going to be brief. We know many of you have already read through it, but we'll touch upon eligibility, purpose areas, application requirements. A lot of questions have come in recently on submission process, review process, and our decision making. And I'm going to turn the next slide over to Nadine Neuville.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. We are very excited about this special solicitation. It has been a number of years since OVW requested ideas from the field regarding training and technical assistance, and certainly regarding emerging issues. As I hope many of you know, VAWA 2022 is offering us the ability to address emerging issues in a way we have not been able to in the past, and that includes exceeding the scope of the Violence Against Women Act, but remaining within the confines of violence against women, of course, because that is what we address. But some issues that maybe are more tangential, one might say, to our issues, we will now be able to also support. Let me also say that support under this solicitation, as under other solicitations, is still limited. The primary purpose of our funds is to support, obviously, recipients under the authorized and appropriated grant programs, as well as training and technical assistance and research and evaluation. We want applications that focus on new ideas which OVW is not currently supporting. Those ideas can also include pilot projects, which some of you may have heard in the past or may have received response from us in the past. We don't do through training and technical assistance. Pilot projects are ideas that can involve the provision of TA, but they really focus on involving jurisdictions or sites in the implementation of a response model as a means of testing that model or of expanding the use of such a model. We are very excited about this opportunity writ large, and in addition to emerging issues regarding training and technical assistance, or new ideas regarding training and technical assistance, and by new, what we mean are ideas that we do not currently support. So we really want to encourage you to spend a little time on our website, TA to TA website, to look at what we do currently support, so that you don't spend time developing a whole proposal for something that is already underway, because we will not support ideas that currently receive funding through our training and technical assistance. In addition to the open purpose area, which is purpose area number 1, we do have some specific areas of need, which we also identified in the call for concept papers. And I'm going to turn it back to Neelam, who will briefly go through those areas of need in a minute. But before that, we also just wanted to touch on eligibility. So as you're considering developing your proposals, the eligibility is the same as the eligibility under our training and technical assistance and research and evaluation solicitations. That is to say that national, tribal, statewide, and local nonprofit organizations are eligible. 501c3 status is not required. I'm going to repeat that, it is not required, but you do have to be a nonprofit. turn your attention to what's in bold at the bottom of this particular slide, because individuals and for-profit entities are not eligible applicants for this call for concept papers, which is consistent with, again, our other solicitations. OVW has only, to my recollection, have one individual in the entire 25 plus years we've been developing programs and implementing programs. Institutions of higher education are also eligible. State, local, and tribal governments and governmental agencies are also eligible under this call for concept papers. And I particularly would just turn your attention to that last bullet on state, local, and or tribal governments being eligible. That is also just a nod to the pilot project idea. If you're working with one of these entities to implement a new innovative response to our crimes, that might be something that is ripe for a pilot project under this solicitation. So with that, Neelam.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. So we have as Nadine's explained, for purpose area 1, the emerging issues. We're looking for ideas of TA projects that we're not currently funding, ideas that you've always wanted to kind of explore and provide training, technical assistance, or develop products around, and also pilot projects, which many of you are interested, have knowledge about and information about how we usually do pilot projects in office. Nadine, you have anything you want to add about pilot projects?
No, but well, yes, I shouldn't say no. I should say yes. Later on, we'll talk about the review process for this call for concept papers. And I would say that pilot projects may be the ones most ripe for our doing a call with the applicant and or their key partners. But we can flesh that out later. If it sounds like we're moving a little quickly, we know that you have the ability to read the call for concept papers and hopefully have already. And we want to make sure we leave enough time for all your questions. So, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. As Nadine also mentioned, as you saw in the call for concept papers, we do have 4 additional specific purpose areas listed out. We have a purpose area on Alaska tribes implementing special tribal criminal jurisdiction, purpose area on campus special initiative for culturally specific campuses, another one on expanding legal services initiative, and a purpose area on culturally specific cross-program technical assistance. We have representatives from the OVW programs that have submitted those purpose areas on the call with us today to answer any questions. I also want to make sure, I think we forgot to say, we have a chat box. You guys probably have already seen the chat box, and can you put your questions in there as well for individuals from OVW to answer during the call and after we're done with this short presentation. One thing I did want to mention here is looking at the last bullet with the 3 asterisks is I know a lot of you have some great ideas and you want to kind of bounce them off of people, but however, we cannot provide any feedback on the quality, the proposal or likely success for a proposal or any ideas about the purpose areas, which includes the purpose area on emerging issues. So please refrain from calling OVW or talking to OVW staff about ideas or emailing ideas. One question I just want to make sure we bring this up, as you saw in the purpose areas, we do have a budget range. And I received a really good question today from a potential applicant that I wanted to make sure we stressed is the applicant wanted to see if they could put a proposal in for less money. And so just want to make sure you all know that the range is just a range. If you have an idea that's less than an amount, definitely you can propose a project that's less than an amount that we put in there. But you just don't go above the highest amount if there is a range. Okay, so the application requirements. As you read through the call for concept papers, all projects must be for a national audience unless it's specified in one of the included TA purpose areas. For those of you that are not national OVWTA providers, but have ideas that you have done training technical assistance or some emerging issues at a local level, this is an opportunity for you to apply and take that idea and project to more of a national level. So it has to be a national in scope unless, like I said, specified in the TA purpose areas. As you saw in the call for concept papers, we have put in 3 parts for this application. There's a summary data sheet, a project narrative, and a statement experience. We are not asking for a budget. We are not asking for an MOU. We are not asking for letters of support, letters of intent. So it really is these 3 items. We do not want to have additional documents sent to us. So please refrain from sending resumes, letter supports, articles that you've written, articles about your idea of your project, budgets, any table context, appendixes, etc. We just want those 3 documents that we're asking for in the application. Nadine, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes, obviously we know that you may mock up a budget to develop your estimated budget total. But as Neelam said, we don't want to receive that at this time. We don't want to look at that budget breakdown at this time. That will be part of what we get at the later process if you're selected to move on. So that's all I would add. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The next 2 slides are about the submission process. I know there were a couple of questions I've received about how to submit it, how to put the application together. Like I said previously, we're asking for the 3 documents, the summary data sheet, the project narrative, and the statement experience. You may want to combine them all, the 3 documents, into one PDF and attach one PDF to the email. One thing I would just stress is make sure you have the most updated PDF, Adobe, on your computer that you're going to be using. For the proposal, we're asking you don't send them as a zip drive. You can also attach them each as single items within that one email, the 3 documents, if that's easier for you.
Excuse us. We can't see your slides.
Oh.
We were able to see them at first, but we can no longer see them.
Oh, I didn't touch anything. Hold on. Can you go back? Can you see that slide?
Try sharing your screen again. My sincerest apologies.
Okay, I'm going to end the slideshow. Hold on 1 minute, everyone. Sorry about that. Okay.
DOJ has been experiencing some internet problems today, so I wonder if that may have contributed to it.
Can you all see my slide?
Not yet.
Okay. I did share it again.
Neelam, send it to me and I'll try sharing.
Okay. Apologies, everyone. You can just put during this time, put your questions in the chat box. We can work that way.
Yes, we do have a question that we did want you to answer out loud so that everyone could hear your response. And Nadine did respond in the chat, but I'm going to just reiterate it. Are nonprofits and academic institutions eligible for pilot projects or specifically for government agencies?
Yes, everybody who's eligible to apply to the solicitation generally is eligible for any of the purpose areas. I was just elevating the fact that local governments are also eligible, because normally we say they really aren't. We will rarely entertain them. So I was just elevating that. I did not mean to imply that other eligible entities could not apply for that as well. So everybody who's eligible on that first slide or that second slide is also eligible for all of the purpose areas. And there was a question about prevention projects. Yes, prevention projects are also eligible.
Okay, I can see the slide. Can you do it as a presentation mode? Perfect. And then you can just go all the way down to the first submission.
Let's answer one more question.
Okay.
There's a question about how many awards will be made under Purpose Area 2. I believe the plan is only for one. However, we always reserve the right to change that. So we may make multiple awards. We definitely anticipate making multiple awards under purpose area number 1, and may make multiple awards under the others as well. But right now for purpose area 2, I believe we anticipate only making one.
Thank you. Are we ready for me to go on to the submission? Perfect. All right. Thank you for sticking around with us all. So since you didn't see the submission one, I'll just go over that really quickly again, is for the first bullet, talking about putting them all, the 3 documents that we're requesting in the application as one PDF. If you can, make sure you have the most updated PDF, Adobe on the computer you'll be using, or attach them each individually to that one email. One thing to keep in mind is do not send separate emails with each document. Each email on their own that we receive is going to be its own application. OVW will not combine emails. So if you have an email that you send us that just has the project narrative, but then another email has the statement of experience and the summary data sheet, those are each 2 separate applications in the email. We will not merge them together. So keep that in mind when you're doing the applications. I did see a question about the 3 overall, so I'm getting to that one right now. Is an applicant is limited to 3 applications. Now, for each of the purpose areas 2, 3, 4, and 5, not the emergencies, you're allowed only 1 application for that, each of those purpose areas. Then if you decide to do an emerging issues, only you can do multiple emerging issues applications, but you're only allowed to do 3 overall. So let's say you want to do 3 emerging issues, you put 3 emerging issues applications in. You want to do 2 emerging issues and one of the other purpose areas, that's your 3rd one. You want to do 1 emerging issues and 1 application for, let's say, purpose area 2 and purpose area 3, that's 3 applications. I know it sounds a little confusing, but I hope that makes sense. Any other clarification with that, Nadine, if I'm making sense or not? No. Okay.
I think you explained it well.
Okay. And if you have questions, you all just, if I'm not making sense, you can put in the chat box or you can email the TA mailbox and I'll be checking that on a regular basis and I can talk to you about what we mean by 3 distinct applications. Okay, I'm going to move on. Oh, I can't move on. Can you move on to the next slide for me, Aisha? Thank you. So we have a question here, and this was a question that comes up often with OVW applications. If you submit multiple applications multiple times or send 4 different proposals, what do you do? So OVW will review the most recently submitted timestamped emails that we receive of an application for any non-duplicative application. So let's say you sent the same application 4 times in the system to me by email, to us, and we will take the most recent one that you submitted as that application for that proposal. If you do need to resubmit the application via email before the due date, you realize you had left something off, you realize you didn't upload the correct narrative, resubmit via email the entire application, again, all 3 documents, and you can state in the email which email you would like us to remove from review. But that's up, if you want to send that to us, then that's actually a clear way for us to identify which one to remove. So let's say you do want to put in 3 applications. Do not put all 3 applications in the same email. Each application should be its own email. So if you're submitting 3 emerging issues, you're submitting 3 different emails for each emerging issue that you're proposing. That way we can identify each application individually by email. And if you are submitting multiple concept papers, we do request that you use that subject line to really clarify and distinguish each of the proposals differently. So let's say you have one emergent issue application. We would just say emergent issues purpose area 1. My examples here. Let's say you want to do the campus one, email 3 campus initiative, or email 2 with the Alaska special jurisdiction, you would write it that. But if you're going to do multiple emergent issues, just clarify emergent issues purpose area 1, proposal 1, proposal 2, proposal 3.
Can we pause for a second and pick up 1 or 2 questions?
Sure.
In the chat?
Okay. Open up the chat box. Are there examples of online past concept papers? I don't think we have examples, Nadine, do we?
Sorry about that. It has been too long since OVW released a concept paper, and I think that we tried to make this application as simple and as basic as possible. It really is a matter of explaining why the project is needed and spending time on why the applicant and its project partners or proposed partners are the right entities, have the expertise to do this project. So it's as simple as that. And in terms of, I know I saw a question earlier about the budget, what we would want to see for the estimated budget. We want the total, and it would be helpful to obviously have some sense of how much is personnel, but that's it for now. Unless
there was a question of if OVW has funded a topic that is not an official OVW purpose area, was a one-off project, would that be eligible? If it's no longer being funded and it's no longer an active project with OVW, yes, you can apply for that as an emergent issue.
yes.
Let's see.
And if you have a question about a project related, a specific project that you want to ensure is no longer being supported, definitely reach out to us.
I see a question. I'm not sure we answered. Are you required to do more than one purpose area? You are not required to do more than one purpose area. Any other ones before we move on that you want to talk about that we haven't answered yet?
We can go on to the next slide and come back to the questions.
Perfect. This is Nadine.
Sorry. So just the review process, I think we spelled it out in the call for concept papers. This will be an internal review. We're going to be assessing against our current projects to make sure that this, that any proposals are not projects that we currently support, and that basically the proposal fits the idea that we're looking for with new emerging issues or pilot projects. And that I think the big thing here that we've only done a few times again is that we will potentially reach out to have conversations with applicants and or their project partners. We may reach out to the partners separate and apart from the applicant to, as you know, we're not requiring letters of support or an MOU at this point. So part of that outreach can be to ensure that they are on board with the project and to understand their commitment. We may also, as part of the process, identify additional partners we think are necessary to carry the project out. And we're going to want to talk to, of course, the applicant to gauge their interest in adding partners if we think that they would be helpful. But at this stage, I would say this is very much like a new program for OVW in the sense that over the years of doing programs, you have a rough idea of how many applications you will receive, which also enables you to gauge how long it's going to take you to complete the review process. For this, we just don't know, right? So depending, if we receive 5 applications, we could be through this process quite quickly. But if we receive 500, it could be quite some time. We'll do our best to keep everybody apprised as to where we are in the process. But it's right now, it's quite an unknown to us. And I think, Neelam, you will cover a bit of that in the next slide.
Thanks, Nadine. So our post-decision process, we want to make sure that the project point of contact information is most accurate on, oh, the slide, hold on 1 minute. There we go. There we go. Slide before, perfect. It's really important that the point of contact information on the summary data sheet is correct. And also all the partner information is correct. We will be contacting applicants via email regarding the outcome of their application. So that's for both those that are selected and those that are not selected. OVW will reach out to applicants that are selected to negotiate the full scope of the project, who your consultants and partners are, and discuss and negotiate the budget amount before the final proposal is approved. Then there is a second step for those that are selected, and those selected applicants will be invited to submit a full proposal through grants.gov and Just Grants through a separate invite-only solicitation in the system, so we can get those awards processed.
Could I just add that that second step is a non-competitive step? At that point, we've made a decision, and if you are still interested in moving forward with the project, the competition is over. And unfortunately, we still have to go through Just Grants, though, that we cannot make any awards outside of utilizing the Just Grants system.
And the next slide. And you guys have already been doing it, so we're ready for Q&A and anything that you want clarified from what we've already discussed as well. You can put them in the chat box. I also wanted to just share, you saw it in the call for concept paper, the OVW Technical Assistance mailbox to send any questions that you have about this call for concept paper or specific purpose areas. And just also a reminder that all proposals must be emailed to the OVW Technical Assistance box, email address here, by 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, January 26th. And I think we're ready to go back through the questions.
Yeah, Neelam, we have a few questions that have come into the chat.
Okay.
The first is, can you give a verbal example of a hypothetical pilot project?
Okay. And this is completely hypothetical. Let's say that you're in a community in which they've been using a new way of serving protection orders. I don't know what it might be. There's some new, or serving and signing, just like you can do DocuSign these days, that maybe all the parties DocuSign that they've read and received the protection order. Totally just off the top of my head. And they've been doing it countywide or even statewide, and there might be a pilot project might entertain the idea of taking this tool and the process to multiple states or nationwide. Is that helpful? I hope that helps. And that was a pretty narrow scope.
Okay. Thank you, Nadine. The next question is to clarify something that was said a couple slides ago, and that is, for Purpose Area 1, if we have one-off trainings or TA for something, but do not have a focused project, resources, and staffing, is that considered emerging, or should we reach out to our OVW grants specialist for clarification?
This sounds like it's a need. I think we might need a little more information, right, Neelam? Maybe?
Yeah. it sounds like it's a need, or it could be something, if you're saying, talking to your OVW grant specialist, is it something that could be in scope of your current project as a deliverable?
So is this a need for training? That's what I think I'm not clear about. So maybe if you could type a little bit more into the chat, because the idea behind this concept paper, it is to deliver training and or technical assistance to other communities, not to receive it yourself.
Mhm.
All right. Our next question is, should the budget total include direct and indirect costs?
Yes. Yes. We want to know what is the total cost to us, to the federal government, of the project.
And for Purpose Area 1, could we apply for a regional pilot that is scalable on the national level?
By regional, I'm interpreting that as multi-state, and yes. But if you mean regional just within a state,
No.
Yeah, for a pilot, let's talk about it. I think we're going to say, yes. No, much. I think we'd have to see what the pilot is.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to, in this case, you'd have to take a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to have to look at, then is scaling it nationally the next stage? And what is the cost?
Yep.
All right. In just grants, will applicants need a longer proposal or the same proposal with a full budget?
So the selected applicants will be given instructions through that solicitation of what we need, and will be contacted by email of what we need. We will need a full budget for sure to move on.
Can you say more about what a pilot project could include?
I think it might be easier if I say, let me flesh it out this way. A pilot, the idea behind a pilot, if you think about the demonstrations that OVW has implemented in the past, that is really what a pilot is without the national evaluation component. There still could be a limited evaluation, particularly a process evaluation, but there wouldn't be the national evaluation. The national evaluation is a demonstration. Pilot for us is testing something, testing an intervention. Something, again, for the purposes of this solicitation, it needs to be something that we don't currently support within our programs. So, and we support a lot. So for a pilot, but the idea here is that we don't know. That's what we're really trying to be open to, the fact that while we work with many jurisdictions, we know there are ideas other than those that are born in our office. And so we're hoping that what we're going to hear is, this is what X jurisdiction has been doing, and they really have not heard of someone else doing the same thing, or of many other communities, let me say, because you might have an idea that there's one other, and you really think it's been successful, and you want to take it to, you're suggesting to us that we should take this to many other jurisdictions. Neelam and anybody else in OVW, if you want to jump in on this, please feel free, but that's my, I don't want to lock people down with a pilot can only be X. The idea behind a pilot is that it is something that has already been done somewhere, that the applicant has been involved with doing it wherever it's already been done, right? It's not that you have seen it across someplace else, but you have not been a party to it, then you should not be suggesting it as a pilot. You've been a party to it in some way, and you are proposing that it be implemented in multiple other jurisdictions or organizations. I don't want to eliminate the fact that it could be a pilot that's done in multiple nonprofits. Hope that helps a little bit.
Thank you. Where can we find the template for the three-part application? And can you please describe the term cross-program in Purpose Area 5?
So for the first question, we do not have a template, but if you look in the call for concept papers, starting on page 8, it explains the 3 parts: the summary data sheet, the project narrative, and then on to page 9, the statement of experience and what we're asking for each document to include. For the next question, that's Purpose Area 5, which is the culturally specific cross-program technical assistance. I believe we have Tanette on the line from OVW. Tanette, do you want to answer that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Of course. Can you please describe the term cross-program in Purpose Area 5?
So with regard to cross-program, we're looking at organizations to work together. We know that the vast majority of organizations, you're not going to be able to address every single topic area, sorry. You're not going to be able to address every single topic area. So we want to make sure that you're working in a consortium with other organizations. Does that make sense?
I think it does. Thank you, Tanette.
All right. And our next question is, this doesn't fund research, but I would assume that if we do a pilot, we'd want to be able to do a formal evaluation.
You can include whatever you feel like you need to include for the pilot project. If you decide to do a pilot. So if that includes having an evaluation, then you would include that in your proposal.
Under Purpose Area 1, can you clarify if this funding allows for activities such as the development of tools, including needs assessments, toolkits, or the creation and release of non-research written materials such as guides, briefings, frameworks?
Did you want me to do that one?
Oh, I was just sorry, yes, it's whatever you feel like you need when you're addressing the emergent issue. What is it that you want to propose to address that emergent issue? Is it creating the needs assessment? Is it creating briefings, work tools, the trainings, the TA? You're proposing the emergent issue, and then you're proposing the activities to address that emergent issue that you feel is going to be the most beneficial to addressing that issue. Nadine, anything else you want to add?
No, I think you got it.
Thanks. Sandy, what's the next one?
Is there a minimum budget amount?
No.
No, never a minimum.
No.
You know, obviously, if we think it's so low that the project can't be accomplished, then we might, ask you some additional questions, or we might still fund it. It's not going to get you extra points to lowball it, though, because what we're expecting is that what you propose, you can complete with the funding you've identified. Now, through the negotiation process, if we are asking for additional activities, additional work, or to expand it in some way that is not within your budget, and that includes partnerships, then obviously we're gonna assume that we would have to increase the budget in some way or remove some other activity in some way. And that is part of the negotiation process. where maybe we all agree if the project includes 5 conferences. And again, just an example. And we want a tool kit that you maybe had not included. We might negotiate that we would reduce it to 4 conferences and a toolkit to keep it within the proposed budget. Or we might say, well, can we add a little money to get the toolkit? So that would be part of our negotiation process.
Thank you.
A pilot project include funding for demonstration sites to use in applying the TA we are developing, promoting.
I think you propose what you want to propose. If you want to include funding to a select number of demonstration sites for the pilot project to test it out, use it, then that would be something you would propose. So it is what you feel like you need to do to accomplish that purpose, that pilot project.
So I gather from the question, you're assuming or thinking that the sites also would need funding. And again, to Neelam's point, that is your assessment in terms of the overall funding that is available. If you want some of it to go to the sites, absolutely fine. Or if you're thinking that it would all be consumed by TA, also fine.
Thank you. What is the estimated timeline for when approved projects could receive funds and approval to start projects?
Probably by late spring, early summer.
In this instance, I am going to stick with the standard OVW guarantee, September 30.
There you go.
You know, it is always our goal to make awards earlier. And to Neil's point, the goal is sometime in the summer. But, you know, we're dealing with systems here.
What is the maximum budget amount for Purpose Area 1?
For Purpose Area 1, Merging Issues, the maximum for an idea is $750,000 for 36 months, up to $1.5 million for a pilot project for 36 months.
And can you please clarify how to find out about the demonstration projects OVW has done in the past? Where can we find out about them?
They are on our website. We can also post something later with some information and some links to, for instance, the Judicial Oversight Demonstration Initiative, the Green Book Initiative, the Sexual Assault Demonstration Initiative. Those are the ones that are jumping to mind. Our Tribal Salsa began as a pilot initiative, but over the years has expanded into something more routine. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting, but those are the big 3 that come to mind, and we can certainly get to some links.
Yeah, we'll put some of the links right
Family
below.
Court, I'm so
on our
sorry,
website.
Family Court Enhancement is another one. Yes, and is the most recent.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you are defining project partners for the purpose of the concept paper? We have numerous organizations we would like to reach out to partner with as part of the proposed activities, and we will certainly reach out to them now to gauge their general interest. But the scope of their involvement could vary significantly based on the parameters of any final proposal negotiated with OVW. For now, if they say they are open to potentially partnering with us on this, for example, in an email exchange, is that all we need for now?
So we're not asking you to, oh, you go, Nadine.
You're fine.
We're not asking you to attach those emails, but if you are proposing a project and you've reached out to certain partners, potential partners, those are and they're going to be important to implementing it with their expertise, then we definitely need to have their contact information, because if you're expecting the partners to be really highly involved in the project and they have that expertise that you're needing, we need you on the summary data sheet to add that information in there. And in the statement of expertise, that's where you go a little more in depth about the expertise of your staff, your proposed partner organizations, or proposed consultants, to be able to demonstrate that you all have that expertise to develop and implement this project.
I think the key word here that Neelam used is expertise, that what you're looking for, what we're looking for, is partners who are integral to making the project succeed. So I'll just use this example. If you're proposing a project that involves, again, total pretending, going outside our rubric here a little bit, that involves going into space. But you have no astronauts or engineers with that type of expertise in the project. We're going to question that. You know, what is your past experience sending a shuttle into space? So we would be looking for a project in that instance to have partners with that type of experience. So if you're proposing a project that is addressing, to maybe bring it a little closer to home, addressing a particular professional discipline, we're going to expect some expertise working with or in that discipline to be in your partnership. Also, any entity you think or individual who will be getting a significant amount of the budget, I would say anything more than 10%, that's a key project partner to us. We want to know what are they contributing to the project to warrant funding out of the project.
The next question is about Purpose Area 5. The budget cap is $800,000 for 24 months. So is that basically $400,000 for year one and $400,000 for year two? So the purpose area is a 2-year commitment.
I'm assuming I should go ahead and answer this question, Neela. I would go ahead and say that you have $800,000 for 24 months. And the reason why I would phrase it that way instead is because oftentimes the way that you're going to do your activities, it really isn't $400,000 per year. It's the way that you do your activities, and you're going to work with your OVW program manager to decide how those activities are going to go. I would say you should plan on at least a 2-year commitment, but as we tend to go a little bit longer with that, with how long it takes to get budget approvals and things of that nature, but I would say at least plan on 2 years. And I hope that answers the question.
I also think, if I can piggyback a bit on what Tanette said, that one of the things that might happen is you might have a planning period, and you might spend a little less in the planning period than you do in the implementation period. So it's not going to be an even, as Tanette said, $400,000 for each year. The other thing I would say, though, that is really key, that has come up, and if you have not been an OVW TA provider, you might not be aware of this, of course, is the expectation is, though, that there is 24 months of something, right? 24 months that includes maybe some piece of that is planning, but certainly some piece of that is delivery. And what should not happen is that at the 18-month mark, there is no more money to continue to deliver the TA. That is what should not happen. So, consider all that you can do within that framework and that it must cover 24 months of work.
Can you give an example of a prevention program?
Okay, I'll give you an easy one. It's one of the few programs we have that does prevention. OVW does not have a lot of prevention work, so we're very excited that we could now support some prevention. Prevention can include the student training, student education done under our campus program is considered prevention. I would say maybe I'll use a Neelamism, which is don't constrain yourself with those definitions though. The idea is that we are looking for your ideas. And I think that maybe the earlier prevention question was from somebody who has experienced our having in the past having to say that we cannot support prevention, but that is something that has changed with some of the changes in VAWA 2022. Most of what our programs supported in the past have been interventions, which are post criminal activity usually, and not preventing harm. Our programs are really statutorily defined as a response to harm and not a prevention of harm. So that is what prevention is for us. It's pre-harm. Well, there may have been some harm and there's pre-additional harm too. I don't know if anybody else on the call wants to add to that. It comes up a lot for LED. A lot of people think of kids when they think of prevention, but I also think that adults, there can also be prevention involving adult survivors.
There's a question about the availability of the slides after the webinar.
So I can respond to that. The slides will be available on the OVW website under resources for applicants. I'll repost the link as soon as I stop sharing. I cannot do that at the moment because I'm sharing my screen.
Thank you. If we have a prevention education program that we think is unique and effective and haven't seen delivered elsewhere, is that best proposed as a national pilot our agency expands program to deliver it nationally, or a TA program advising other agencies nationwide how to do it?
Can you repeat that, Sandy? It's the last part, and maybe Maria, Christina, go ahead.
Sure. Is it best proposed as a national pilot where our agency expands the program to deliver it nationally, or a TA program that would advise other agencies nationwide how to implement the program?
I personally would lean towards a national pilot, but I think it's what you feel you have the expertise and ability to deliver. Others? Neil, if you're talking, you're muted.
I am muted. I am so sorry. I was gonna say it could be both. It could be a pilot with some TA included in it. So it's a project that you know what probably would be best to get that throughout the national way to grantees and potential grantees. What do you think is going to be the best method to sharing that information. And it could be a combo, it could be one or the other.
The next question is about proposed budgets. If you believe that a requested budget is too large or not large enough, will you communicate that concern with the applicant and allow for adjustments, or will the application just be declined? I ask because calling nationally can quite quickly get expensive.
And this is one of the things that I would say is that it depends. We would first also be looking at, are we really interested in the proposal? Still not saying whether or not we're going to support it, but are we interested enough to warrant negotiating the budget? Because if it's something that we just think we can't support this, it's not really going to move the field, then we might not get to, we just wouldn't get to the level of looking at, okay, what about the proposed budget amount? So it depends on the viability of the project or the idea.
Thank you. If we have a successful pilot program and we are ready to bring it to the national audience, do we pay the cost for it to be implemented in other locations?
Well, no, I mean, I think that again goes to the budget question. When you say taking it to a national audience, that is how we would interpret taking it to a national audience. So that would be part of the 1.5 million. But again, if we need to negotiate the number of pilot sites, the amount of money, then we would negotiate that. And we want to know what is the cost of implementing it on the ground now in a community.
A question regarding the previous statement that pilot project should be a project that the applicant has done themselves, either locally or in partnership with others, and you want to take it to a national level. If you have done related work and developed curriculum for similar training areas, can you then propose to develop new curriculum or training on a new project?
This is one where I would say you can propose it. We're going to want to see what is the expertise you bring to the table to implement it. So how integral were you? Do you have all of the expertise needed? Do you have the partners needed again?
What is the implementation period?
So if you're talking about any of the purpose areas for emerging issues and other ones, that's really something that we would negotiate with you if you were one of the chosen applicants. Right now, we're asking for ideas, your thoughts, your ideas, timeline, and the implementation part of it would be a negotiation with OVW, and in the once you get the award, working with OVW staff.
Included in the call, our best estimate for the implementation period. However, again, depending on the size and scope of the project, that could expand. Particularly, I would say for anyone proposing a pilot project in particular. And obviously, we always, on the TA projects, we reserve the right to, continue the project with you if both parties are interested, even after the initial project end date. but continuation funding is never guaranteed. We are subject to appropriation also.
Can we ask for funds to research the effect of the project on a demonstration site?
Okay, my initial response to that is yes, you can ask for it. On the other hand, having done these enough times, the amount of money we have available is probably cost prohibitive. Depending on the type of evaluation that you're considering.
Is there a written definition of pilot project?
No.
Oh.
People use interchangeably pilot project, demonstration initiative, special initiative. For OVW's purposes, our only distinction between the demonstration and a pilot is that a demonstration where we anticipate a full bore national evaluation with control sites, whereas with a pilot, we usually are only most doing a process evaluation, but also with a pilot, we might entertain more sites, whereas a demonstration, we usually want a minimum of 3 sites and a maximum of 6. But that's just OVW working definition. There's nothing scientific about it.
If a partner that would be required for the project would be an entity that we may want to submit bids so that we can get the most reasonable cost, could we, for budgeting purposes, use someone who has been reasonably priced in the past, but we would not formally include them as a partner because we want the flexibility if we get the grant to get competitive bids for the work? Would we name the potential partner in the proposal so you know that our estimates are real?
So going back to when we discussed, I understand that many of you are going to want to start to kind of work on the budget to kind of see what is your estimate, how much do you really need for the project? I'm going back to the statement of experience and the implementation, who's implementing. You want to include the potential partners that you know you're going to want to use and connect with them. Because if you're putting someone in for a budget purpose only and then wanting to compete it, we want to make sure that the project that you're implementing has the expertise to implement this project. That includes your staffing and your partners. Nadine, do you have something else to add?
Yeah, if you're referring to something that would normally be bid out, because I understand that some of you have contracting requirements, we have them as well, where you have to competitively bid something, then it's fine not to include a named organization and to explain in the concept paper that you will be bidding this out and to include a description of what the bid criteria might include. So we understand that you have a clear understanding of the necessary qualifications. So, hope that helps. We're not asking for the full detailed bid. That would take all of your paper, your page limitation. But what we are asking is to understand, okay, you're bidding for, let's say, a vendor for a system. We understand that you might bid for that. Yes. And, what are the big picture or umbrella criteria that you would include in that type of bid?
On the summary data sheet, is the lead applicant the PI or the institution or organization?
It's the institution organization. The point of contact could be your PI.
There's a question asking if OVW would consider making multiple Purpose Area 1 awards to the same organization.
Yes. We're basing it on the ideas that are being proposed, and an organization may have multiple ideas, emerging issues that we would like to recommend and fund.
Earlier, we talked about where individuals could find information on demonstration projects, and there's just a clarifying question asking where that might be. Will it be on the resources for applicants? Yes. Okay. Are partners or consultants mandatory for the project?
What is required is to include key staff, individuals that have the expertise to implement that project and the idea. So if you have staff internally and that's what you want to propose, that is your choice to propose that. If you want to include your consultants that have expertise, that's your choice as well. So we don't have a requirement, but based on your proposal, what you're proposing, you may need expertise outside of your organization for that project.
This is Maria Cristina for the Purpose Area 3, the Campus Special Initiative. We are looking for a consortium of national organizations and consultants, so just be mindful that it might depend on the purpose area that you're choosing to apply for.
Thank you, Maria Cristina. Yes. So I was thinking really about Purpose Area 1, but yes, look, if you're looking at 2, 3, 4, and 5, read those purpose areas carefully for what they're asking, because you will have to address what they're asking in your application.
Do our partners also have to be nonprofits?
No.
The possibility of a planning period, is that for all purpose areas?
That would be discussed when an applicant is selected in the negotiation with OVW of a planning and implementation period.
Where can the budget maximum for each purpose area be found?
There's a budget max included for each purpose area in the call for concept paper.
Can you clarify culturally specific?
Tanette, I think this is related to your purpose area. I would say to everybody at Point of VAWA, we have a violence against women definition of culturally specific. So we have, for instance, culturally specific organizations that are community-based organizations providing services to specific racial and ethnic communities, populations. So I hope that is enough of a definition. And those culturally specific organizations are eligible for funding under multiple OVW grant programs.
Mm-hmm. Did I hear you say that pilot projects should include 3 to 6 sites?
No, what I was simply referring to is the distinction between a pilot for OVW, the distinction between a pilot and a demonstration. When we do a demonstration, which this is not, this solicitation does not include, demonstration initiative, in part because we know how much a national evaluation costs. And that's where 3 to 6 sites is a cap. Pilot, it's any number of sites. It's up to you with a pilot.
I believe that is all the questions. If we missed your question in the chat, please re-type it in for us.
Did we answer
Okay.
the question on eligibility? Because the answer is yes, you'd be eligible if you successfully implemented the pilot locally.
Are there any other questions? And you can also send questions after the call to the OVW Tech Assistance mailbox.
We've had another question come in. Any special thoughts if we anticipate having a subrecipient?
And we may need some additional information from you on that, because for our purposes, a partner is technically a subrecipient. So by subrecipients, if you mean competing out the money we award to you to a number of subrecipients, we would not do that unless we are talking about that in the context of a pilot. So for anybody who might not be following, only once have we really done this. It was many years ago. We had a special faith-based pilot initiative back in, I think, 2000, 2001. And under that initiative, we made an award to an entity, which then made sub-recipient awards to many entities. We do not do that.
If the pilot, oh, I'm sorry, Nadine.
I want to say I'm threading the needle a bit here, and it's because of terminology. So under CFR Part 200, what we consider in the OVW TA land as TA project partners are in fact subrecipients. So any of your partners, anybody getting money other than the lead applicant through the award is technically a subrecipient. So yes, you can have subrecipients in a TA project. You can have a subrecipient in a pilot. So, okay, that's great. Thanks, Kim. I think we're good.
If the pilot is national, what is the determining factor in whether it is national, and is there a specific number of participating partners needed?
No, I couldn't tell if you, okay.
If you're saying that it's an idea that you want to put nationally, it's not something that you currently have nationally, you would propose that in your application, and we would determine in our review process whether or not the project is national in scope. In terms of partners, there was the question, specific number of partners needed. That's your discretion as the applicant of how many partners you feel is necessary for the expertise that is needed to implement the project.
So to give you an idea, if this helps, of something that we would not consider national, if you're going to propose a project that really is only going to use the laws of one state, that's not national. And if it relies on legal analysis in some way, then to us, that's not open to the fact that there are so many different legal structures, the criminal and civil justice systems and structures in this country. And so a national project is one that considers the many variations of service delivery, of intervention in use across the country. Regional for us is typically something that is multi-state but not national, where the project is really focused on a multi-state audience. Now, of course, obviously in some big states, regional might also be within the state. And national for us, again, is not something that proposes, for instance, again, using pilot sites to only involve jurisdictions within a single state. That would not be national, or jurisdictions with only a handful of states would not be national. Even providing TA only to entities within a single state is not a national training and technical assistance project. You have to be open to providing training and technical assistance to entities across the country. That's national. Anything that limits that scope is not considered national, will be considered regional or potentially statewide or tribal wide only or local only. So anything less than a national audience, and I do think we have one purpose area that is specifically less than a national audience. And I want to turn it back to Tanette briefly to just expand on a previous answer to one of the questions.
So earlier there was a question regarding culturally specific agencies, and I know like this question comes up a lot and regarding what a culturally specific organization is. So when we're talking about culturally specific organization, we mean agencies that are based on race and ethnicity. So Asian American, Pacific Islander, Black, African American, Latinx, tribal, including Alaska Natives, Aleuts, Native Hawaiians. And the reason why I say that is because oftentimes, even like with the culturally specific programs that we have at OVW, we will have organizations where the primary mission is not based on that specific racial or ethnic group. So it may be a project of the organization, but it is not the primary mission of a whole for that organization. So when we speak of culturally specific, we mean where it's the primary mission of the organization to work with Black or Asian American or tribal or whatever that population is. So I hope that helped the person who had that question. It looks like it did. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Tanette.
Going back to subrecipients, we could not have a subrecipient as part of a TA and not a pilot?
You could have a subrecipient for a pilot as well as a TA.
Can we submit a pilot project developing curriculum and offering TA to several sites around the country that would implement the curriculum and training? Would this still be a pilot project with the maximum award of 1.5 million?
I think that's another, it depends, right, Neelam?
Yeah,
It depends on-
if you're going to then use those several sites and then implement that training nationwide, and you're testing it out on certain sites first, that could be considered a pilot project if the project is only to select several sites and you would only provide them training so they can implement it themselves, and it's not going to take it to a nationwide. That might just be TA. So it's really about what you're proposing. Is it to take it to a national or that everyone gets it, or are you just going to be selecting certain sites to have it, and then that's it. Are there any more additional questions, Sandy?
There are. The next one is for Tanet. Was your last response specific for Purpose Area 5?
It's specific for Purpose Area 5, yes, but just in general, with regard to VAWA, that's what culturally specific means. It's based on race and ethnicity.
Thank you. We do not have any more questions.
All right. Well, we are almost to the end of the webinar. I hope this has been helpful to everyone. As Aisha has stated, we will have the recording up on our website along with the PowerPoint. And if you do have questions during the process, I believe Christina also added the email address and the location of where everything will be located on our website on the chat box. But please make sure if you have questions, just to send us an email to the OVW Tech Assistance box, and we will respond to your questions. Any last thoughts, Nadine?
No, just that this is very exciting for us to have the opportunity to be able to support some new projects, new ideas. So we're really looking forward to what you provide us. Thank you so much. And thanks to the OVW team. Appreciate all your help.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks to our interpreters also. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Bye. Happy New Year.